everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Before we get to all of the good that is college basketball, though, there is one note from this week that feels like it's at least worth diving into, even if it's just for a little bit. And it comes from the bad side of college basketball, where on Wednesday night, the Louisville Cardinals hosted the Arkansas State Red Wolves. First-year head coach Brian Hodgson, longtime Nate Oates assistant, but it is a rebuild. They were 3-7 coming in. Just one problem. They hadn't faced a team quite like the Louisville Cardinals, and they took it to the Cardinals. 3-7. They walk out 4-7. 75-63 win for Arkansas State against Louisville in the Yum Center. Let me start by saying this. I like Kenny Payne. I thought he was the right hire at the time, but I'll be blunt. This is one of the biggest debacles I can ever remember. And I'm not an advocate of firing a guy in year two, but I just don't know how you can keep this going, because I can't think of a single thing that has gone right for Kenny Payne so far. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the debacle that is Louisville. Let me start by saying this. I got to take it now, and we're going to talk about it later. Aaron right, Aaron wrong. I thought Kenny Payne was a great hire for Louisville. Now, admittedly, the field started to thin when that job opened. Bruce Pearl wasn't coming, got a new contract. Nate Oates' buyout was insane. He wasn't coming to Louisville. So of the options that were realistic, I thought Kenny Payne was the right guy. He was an alum. He was going to unite the fan base. But essentially, since he got the job, nothing has gone right. You don't need me to go through all of it, but let's be quick. First of all, you know when I knew Louisville was in trouble? Before they even went 4-28 last year. Remember, the summer before was the first kind of really, truly open transfer portal with the one-time transfer rule. Guys are changing teams left and right. Dozens of impact players are going in the portal. And Kenny Payne, who's supposed to be this master recruiter, worked under John Calipari, he essentially gets none of them. The best commitment that he got was probably Brandon Huntley-Hatfield, a guy that played at Tennessee that barely stepped on the floor. So that was when I knew they were in trouble. They end up going 4-28. And I remember talking about this in the preseason with Zach Kroll on the College Hoops Daily podcast. I remember saying to him, I said, the problem with Louisville, I don't even know what you can deem a successful season after year one. You go 4-28. It's worth noting, by the way, the recruiting was a debacle. You thought you had DJ Wagner, you hire his grandfather as a member of the staff. DJ ends up going to Kentucky anyway. Trenton Flowers commits to you right before the fall semester starts. He decides he's going to play overseas in Australia. So everything is going wrong. But what I said to come into the season, I said, I don't even know what can be deemed a successful season for Louisville. Because if you go 4-28, think about this. You go 4-28. Even if you have a 10-game improvement this year, which I didn't think was coming, but a 10-win improvement, you'd still be 14-18 overall at the end of the year. And I don't think 14-18 in year two at a school like Louisville is going to get the job done. And so I didn't know what the realistic expectations were. You lose your top recruit right before the season starts, but here's the bottom line. I don't think any of it matters anyway, because I don't think Kenny Payne is there for the take for very much longer. Okay. So first of all, in terms of Wednesday night, this was the problem with the Kenny Payne era. You come out, you're at home. I don't really want to say you have momentum because you've been struggling, but this is supposed to be a win that you get. Arkansas State is 3-7. First-year head coach in Brian Hodgson. This is supposed to be a game that is just a layup. It's a gimme. It's no problem. Just one problem. As I said, you come out flat, you come out uninspired, you basically come out and you're the team that we have seen from Louisville since Kenny Payne got there. It is a game where you shoot 36% from the field, they shoot 44% from the field. Essentially, we've talked about this a lot, they got out-rebounded. Louisville should never be out-rebounded by a team from the Sun Belt, and it was largely uncompetitive. And so you lose the game, and here is the worst part. The game itself, a loss to a 3-7 Arkansas State team. That wasn't even the worst part of the day. Did you see what happened before the game off the court for Louisville? So, okay, if you missed this story is unbelievable, okay? So there's a kid on this team named Karan Johnson, okay? And I'll be honest, I don't know much about him, but you do a quick kind of Google search on him. One of the more unique stories that you can ever really find in high major college basketball recruiting now, okay? This was a kid that committed. Nobody really knew anything about him. Nobody knew anything about him in terms of his commitment. It's Karan Davis, by the way. I think I said Karan Johnson, Karan Davis. I apologize. Commits. Nobody knows anything about him. He's basically not in any recruiting services. Earlier in the year, there were reports that he got in an altercation with Kenny Payne. Kenny Payne denies it. He's not traveling with the team. Earlier in the season, he shows up to a game. I bring it up because on Wednesday, this is what happened. This kid's tweeting out, I finished my first semester. I'm so proud, blah, 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 this and that. Shortly thereafter, Louisville puts out a statement from the university. Karan Davis announces that Karan Davis has told this coaching staff that he is planning on transferring. We wish him nothing but the best. Just one problem. This kid, Karan Davis, then puts out his own statement on social media, on Twitter, that says, I don't know where you heard that from, but I don't plan on transferring. And then he shows up at the game. And after the game, Louisville has to put out a statement that says, Karan Davis has been dismissed from the team for violation of team rules. And so you talk about a situation that is just chaotic. This speaks to Louisville. They can't even kick a kid off the team right. They put out a statement that he's transferring. The kid says he isn't. Then they say he's dismissed from the team. And ultimately, to me, this is why Kenny Payne has to go. This is why Kenny Payne will go. It is because this is just a dysfunctional, completely unorganized organization that he has going on at Louisville. First of all, the on-the-court stuff is all that matters, right? If Louisville was coming off a 28-4 year and you're losing recruits to Australia and you got kids that are being dismissed, but they're not being dismissed, none of it matters. But you went 4-28 a year ago. As I said, the recruiting turned into a debacle. You think you're getting DJ Wagner for a minute. You hire his grandfather. He ends up going to your biggest rival anyway, as he should have, by the way. Trenton Flowers, you get this kid to reclassify. He's a 5-star. He ends up coming, enrolls for the summer, then bounces. Okay? So first of all, nothing's going right, but the on-the-court product is just abysmal. 4-28 last year, 4-5 this year. There is no effort. There is no execution, and it's not like it's getting better. You know what's crazy about their 4-5 start? There's a couple things that stand out. One, they easily could have lost 2 or 3 games more on the schedule. They beat UMBC by 1. They beat New Mexico State in overtime. They beat Bellarmine by 5. So they're 4-6 right now. I think I said 4-5. They're 4-6 right now. 3 of the wins easily could be losses. But then there are losses to Arkansas State, to a really bad DePaul team, and oh, by the way, to Chattanooga. So again, if the on-the-court product was better, this wouldn't matter, but the on-the-court product isn't better. Beyond that, and I think this is the biggest thing, everything is chaotic. It is just so obvious. And again, I'm wrong. And this doesn't mean that Kenny Payne is a bad human, a bad person, a bad husband, a bad father. That is not what I'm saying. But every single thing about this operation is chaotic. Just think about everything. Didn't do well in the portal. You say you're not going to do the NIL stuff when everybody's doing the NIL stuff. Your best recruit ends up leaving campus a month, as classes are starting. By the way, it's worth noting, this kind of went under the radar because it was at the start of football season. Your highly paid assistant coach, who's supposed to be your star recruiter, Nolan Smith, for people who missed this, he interviewed for a G League job and was trying to get out the side door. So you know that he knows that this ship is sinking and he is trying to get off. But then, and then you have the Karan Davis incident. So you can't even throw a kid off the team properly. Your lead assistant is trying to leave. Recruiting has been a mess. Not a good sign. But I think lastly, and this is the part where I think he has to go. I think the most frustrating thing, it's not just that they're bad. It's almost that Kenny Payne feels like he has no remorse for how bad they are. Like my whole thing is this. You can be bad and you can present it in a way in which you're a sympathetic figure, okay? There are ways you can do that. You can go to the podium after every game or after a loss like the Arkansas State game and say, guys, let me say this. Guys, girls, everybody here, Louisville Nation, I want you to hear this message loud and clear. These results are not okay. These results fall on me, the head coach, and we are working every single day to make sure that whatever you're seeing on the court gets improved and that we are better the next time we take the court. We're not a perfect team. We're not there yet, but we will get there. You need to give us time, and you need to believe that there is nobody more frustrated about this situation than I am. That's all you got to say. It's not that hard. I made that up off the top of my head. I don't even have notes in front of me. It's that simple. But Kenny Payne goes to the podium and he's not apologetic. All he said something on Wednesday night, and I'm paraphrasing, so maybe I don't want to, whatever, where he said something like, he was asked about his job status and he's like, my only concern is these kids. And that's a noble thing to say. But what you could also say is like, hey, I understand where you guys as fans are coming from. You deserve a better product, okay? And I think that's where my frustration would be if I'm a Louisville fan. And I'm not a Louisville fan. I got Louisville fans still mad at me from stuff I said 6 years ago when Rick Pitino was the head coach. But I just bring it up because of the fact that Louisville fans do deserve better. And I think that's the frustrating part for me. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm a fan like everybody else. I pay for tickets, not for every game. I cover some of them as fans. But as an example, next Thursday night, the Rams play Thursday Night Football. I just bought tickets today. I want to go to an NFL game, drink some beers, have a good time, okay? And so I bring it up because when you commit your finances as a fan, you're not going to win every game. You hope you're not going to lose every game like Louisville is. But you're not going to win every game. But I guess what I'm trying to say is you at least want to know that the team on the court, on the field, on the pitch, on the whatever, on the ice is at least giving their best effort. Like if you lose because the other team's better, it sucks. But you could say the team tried hard. They gave it their all. The other team was better. If you're a Louisville fan that is still paying for tickets, and I don't think there's very many that are, like that is the most insulting part of all this, is that it feels like the coaching staff doesn't care. The team doesn't care. And that's where my frustration lies. And so if I'm a Louisville fan, I'm sitting there saying, why am I spending my hard-earned money on this? Even if tickets are $2 to get into the Yum Center, which it feels like they are. I deserve better. And Louisville fans, you know what? You do deserve better. And I'll be curious to see what happens here in the coming weeks. I just don't know how Louisville can keep going on like this with Kenny Payne. And I know we said the same thing with Chris Mack 2-3 years ago, whatever it was, 2 years ago. But this is a great program, multiple national championships, and it only takes the right guy. And I'll say this. When this job opens, there's going to be some very interesting candidates. Billy Donovan, it appears as though the NBA thing is basically coming to an end. Does he want to get back into college basketball? By the way, you know who's undefeated right now? Chris Beard at Ole Miss. I know what he did at Texas was very, very, very bad. I'm not saying you should hire him, but somebody is going to try to hire him away from Ole Miss. He's a great coach. Ole Miss is undefeated right now. I don't know who else would be on the list. Jerome Tang, maybe. There's actually a lot of really good candidates that I think in the way the ACC is right now, where Duke's kind of figuring it out and North Carolina's there is a lot of room to move up the standings in the ACC. I'll be curious what happens, but I don't know how much longer Kenny Payne can go on as the head coach. And I think he should be embarrassed because that's his university. You got to show some pride. He clearly isn't.